So my name's Brendan Taylor. I go by BMFT Glass. I grew up in Rockville, Maryland, right outside of Washington D.C. I was there till I was like 20, and then hopped on a Greyhound after a band and ex-girlfriend all kind of fell apart, and just kind of hopped on this Greyhound with like $100 in my pocket and went to go visit my friend in Tucson, and just wound up falling in love with the place. And I was there for 6.5 years. Shortly after I moved there, I met my homie Tess One, and I was in a group with him making music, hip hop music, and he kind of introduced me to glass. He was a glass blower, and I used to hang out at his studio, and I just would kick it there all the time. I was kind of like this, young ass kid, always smoking all their weed and drinking all their beers and shit, and then eventually he moved into another glass shop called Fathead, and where I met Calvin Mickle and Yush, and Nitty moved out there, and Michael Blatt, who owned the store, and I was just always hanging out there all the time. And basically I was working at this job at this shitty ass bar called O'Malley's, and I got fired again from yet another bad kitchen job. And I walked up to the studio and I was all pissed off, and they were like, you can't keep getting fired from these jobs, like you should probably do something else. Maybe you should try to blow glass. And I was like, I didn't know that was an option, So that night, Webb put me on the torch for the first time and helped me make a spoon. And I don't know, something would just click. Like as soon as I put the glass like in the flame and it got like molten, I kind of knew how to control it, And then like for a second I stopped spinning, and I was like, gotta keep spinning, But it was just a really magical moment, and I've been doing it ever since. That was in 2009.
Was there any other influential people you met in Arizona that helped inspire you to blow glass?
Yeah, I mean, like pretty much everyone I mentioned earlier, like Calvin really, like Calvin Mickle and Calm Glass and Webb, like really drove me to like, and Yush too, and Micah as well. Everybody at the shop really drove me to like want to like do something with this, and my own want to do it just overwhelmed me to a point that I just got super obsessed with glass. Like it was just this magic medium that I felt like I was like learning magic. Like I didn't know that like any of this shit was possible, like, and then to be able to have your own voice and like do whatever you want like for a living was just like a no-brainer. Well, I'd been making when I started kind of getting myself out there a little bit, I was making a lot of like pizza themed glass, and that was kind of like my thing for a long time. I was kind of the pizza guy, and I started really studying, learning more about other techniques and stuff, and was just like trying to do something like not better, but like more up to my skill level, I'd say, and so then I started making these pieces called milk bottles, and I was doing that for like a couple years, and that was like my first like vessel to collab with people, and that kind of like got me around to work with other people. And so I was doing that for a long time, and then I kind of like stopped that, and as function and the scene was changing, and like a lot of like things, I wanted to stay relevant and try harder, newer stuff. So I kind of had sort of a concept in my head of like a kind of a recycler sort of thing that didn't really like spin, but it kind of just like dumped water. And my old shopmate Alex, he had made this like piece that like he was trying out a concept that he had at the time, and he made it, and it didn't exactly do what he wanted it to do. But like when I saw that, it like clicked something where I was like, oh well, if I did this and this and this, and I can make it my own thing, then like, that's kind of where it came from. It was like inspiration from him, and then I kind of just refined that design over the last few years I've been doing it. I didn't even show anybody the first few Tetrapods. I made like 6 or 7 of them before I even like showed anybody. And I couldn't come up with a name. Like I was like, what the hell do I call this thing? Like, and it was just like so stressful. I was like, the fuck do I call this thing? And then like, I remember I was sitting there, I like ate some acid. I was sitting at the shop, and I was just like sitting there like, I gotta come up with a name. And I was like thinking like quad something, but then it was like, I just remember looking up like tetra means 4, and it's kind of like a pod on top, and like there's this tent that I have that we take to Burning Man called a shift pod, and I was like, Tetrapod. I was like, yeah, all right, that totally works. And then so like I looked it up on the internet to see if it was a thing, and a tetrapod is any 4-legged creature, and I just thought that was the craziest shit. I was like, I thought I made it up. So this piece that we're seeing me making right now, I just got back right now currently a couple weeks ago from a trip out to Eugene, Oregon. I was out there for about 3 weeks working with like AK and Darby and Banjo. Like it was fucking crazy to say the least. Like like super like legends tour. Like bucket list glassblower dream tour type thing. And I was hanging out with Banjo. I had this like sunflower millie, and he really liked it. And he was like, "Yo, I should make one of my eye millies out of that using like the sunflower as a center." And I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah!" So like, we made this millie, and then like I took a chunk of it, and he still has other stuff, the rest of it, and we're gonna do other stuff with it. But I just had this chunk, and I was like sitting there, I'm trying to make work for the show, and I was like, well, I need to make a cool solo. I don't really know, like I couldn't really think of what to do. And then I'm like staring at this millie, and I was talking to Sam Grisman, a good friend of mine, and he was like, use the millie. And I was like, oh shit, what if I drew like sunflowers around like the eyes that have sunflowers in them? And I was like, and so I just kind of like went for it and just went to town on it. And then, E-Man and Nicole came over and started filming, and I kind of this whole thing just kind of serendipitously happened. I didn't like know we were gonna wind up making this, and I'm glad we did. Yeah, so I've lived downtown in the city in Denver the entire time I've lived here. Other than like a couple months, I lived in Arvada for a little bit. But I've lived like right off Colfax for like 8 years, and seen the way the city's changed and the neighborhoods have changed. And like, Purple Haze is like right by my house, so like I've always kind of been involved with these dudes. So to get to do a show with them after so long is like kind of like a really cool thing to do. Like it's kind of like been the local spot for me forever, and good friends with E-Man and stuff. So it's like it's really cool to get to do it. And this whole show is just about being in the new gallery space is a super big honor, and like I'm just kind of trying to make it kind of like this is a Denver ass show, you know what I mean? I've been living in the city. This is what I do, like